Today we're going to be talking about one of the most confusing topics in the plant world, and that is variegation. Variegation is a complex part of plant genetics that makes some of the most sought after plants on the market. But there is so much misinformation about what causes it, what affects it, what makes it stable or not. So let's talk about it. Before we start the video, I would just like to say this is my first Anthurium inflorescence, and I'm pretty proud of it. So, anyway, back on track. When I say variegation, I'm referring to plants with different stripes, streaks, splotches, margins, and so on. Because so much goes into variegation and genetics, I'm going to split this into two videos. Rest assured, I hate waiting for part 2, so it will be uploaded immediately after part 1. Part 1 is going to cover the causes of variegation and what makes it stable or not. And part 2 is going to be covering the pigments and cell structures that create the colors that we see. Let's get started with part 1. We can generally split variegation into two categories: cell lineage variegation and non-cell lineage variegation. Plants with non-cell lineage variegation have cells of the same genotype, but there's a difference in how they're expressed. Patterns are a result of different genetic expressions of otherwise identical cells. This pretty much means all the cells are clones of each other, but some of them are being told to do different things. For example, the cells that make up a watermelon rind are all identical, but based on their positions, they're told to produce different levels of chlorophyll. This inherited trait makes a reliable variegation pattern every time. In houseplants, you'll see non-cell lineage variegation in calatheas, spider plants, and Tradescantia. Cells can also arrange themselves to reflect or refract certain colors, but that will be covered more in part 2. Cell lineage variegation is when two different sets of genotypes are present in one organism. Every color, pattern, splotch, or streak is a clone of the original mutated cell. This mutation occurs spontaneously, and its continuation is dependent on the cell division rate of its descendants. So if the mutated cells divide at a slower rate, the plant will show as lower variegation, and if the mutated cells multiply at a higher rate, the plant will show a higher level of variegation. In houseplants, cell lineage variegation is often caused by chimera mutations. Chimera mutations are when two distinctly different sets of cells are present in the meristem. The meristem is a group of microscopic, colorless cells in a shoot tip, and they basically contain the blueprints for how the plant is going to grow. When a chimera mutation occurs, the new growth is essentially a mosaic of these two sets of genotypes. We can think of the meristem split up into 3 layers, and where the mutated cells arrange themselves in these layers determines the stability of the variegation. In sectorial chimeras, a chunk of mutated cells are present in all 3 layers of the meristem. This makes it the most unstable of all the mutations. These cells don't form in a pattern and don't reliably carry the variegation to new growth. It really just depends on how fast the mutated cells are dividing against the normal cells. This Thalmatophyllum has thrown out beautiful, even variegation every single leaf for the past year and a half, and this is the most recent leaf. This is one Syngonium plant. Every leaf on this alocasia is a lottery roll. This Begonia Ginny Galaxy has been cut back 5 times to try and prevent it from throwing all pink leaves. It's just wildly unpredictable, and that's why so many people have different experiences with variegated plants. The Mericlinal Chimera can look almost identical to the Sectorial Variegation. The only difference between them is that Mericlinal only affects some of the layers of the meristem, but Sectorial affects all. This makes the Mericlinal variegation slightly more stable, but it's still wildly unpredictable. Most variegated pothos fall under this category. Periclinal chimeras produce the most reliable type of variegation. This occurs when an entire layer is genetically distinct from another meristem layer. This makes it more reliable because the whole layer is made up of uniform mutated cells, so they multiply in the same layer every time. This also ensures the normal cells will multiply equally as well. As the plant grows, the variegation pattern will show up almost the same every time. At a glance, periclinal chimeras may appear similar to the non-cell lineage variegation, but if you take a closer look, the chimera mutation looks kind of rough around the edges, and the non-cell lineage looks more refined. So, after spewing a lot of this genetic jargon, I would like to address the myth that more light equals more variegation. If you take away anything from this video, please let it be that variegation is caused by the genetics of the individual plant. If you have a plant showing low variegation, I'm really sorry you lost the genetic lottery. You're just going to have to wait and see how the mutation progresses. I also don't want to discourage people from buying variegated plants. They can just cost hundreds to thousands of dollars sometimes, depending on what it is. And I don't want people to spend money thinking that this is always going to look like this. There's a risk that this does not always look like this. Just be aware that variegated plants can change over time and there's nothing you can really do to stop it. If you want to look into this more on your own, I'll leave the article I got most of this information from in the description. If you're interested in how plant colors are created, part 2 is going to be uploaded immediately after this, and the sneak peek into next week's video will be at the end of part 2. I know this was a lot of information, so if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. Otherwise, go watch part 2, and I'll see you next time.